Tonight, what we're going to see is we've got several ministries in our church being run by amazing folks with great vision, and they're all going to give you their elevator speech. What I told them is, I'm hopping on the elevator on the 8th floor. We're going down to the first floor, and in those 8 floors, tell me what your ministry is all about. And so they're going to each share that. Now, you may not participate in every one of these ministries, but it's good to know a little bit about it. And then when they're done, we'll take a break and get some questions and answers and dialogue going. And then we want to talk about a couple of other things business-wise with the church. So we're going to get started. Adam Moyer with our GP students is going to be the first to hop up here. That's because you've got youth ministry going on right now. Somebody watching? They're middle schoolers. They take care of themselves. Okay.
We're going to go with that. No, Michael's back there. So for youth GPS stuff, we have Sunday morning. Now that we're at 2 services, we're doing high school. We call it Sunday morning static. Just hanging out for an hour talking about Jesus things. High school's first service, middle school's second service, and which is new for this church, separating those two as 2 different services. And then in the evenings, we do middle school and high school stuff. For the high school, we're doing hot topic stuff, which we've been doing for years, and the teens really, really enjoy that stuff. And we talk about anything you could possibly think of. And then we do a bunch of random things throughout the year. Like in October, we're doing Cedar Point. We have our middle school and high school retreats in the fall or winter, January, whenever that is. And I don't know, that's kind of how we run things. We have a bunch of random things. High schoolers, we do these hangouts on Saturday nights. Like tonight was the 4th Sunday for middle school, so we try to do like a dinner and just like a hangout night. That's oftentimes at my house or somebody else's house to give them an opportunity just to connect in a different way and hang out and invite a friend who wouldn't necessarily want to come to church on Sunday morning. So that's our elevator speech. Oh, yes. So one thing we implemented this past year for the first time is our summer camp up at Lake Ann. Week-long, northern Michigan. It's absolutely beautiful. It was phenomenal. There's a couple families who went this year. They are already signed up for next summer. They signed up the day they left because it was really, really good for the teens. So, yeah.
Do you have to go through Ann Arbor to get there?
So you don't have to, but I was driving up with Steve Geiger, who is a huge OSU fan, and we stopped downtown Ann Arbor for lunch. It was delicious. It was like this little hole-in-the-wall place. It was on some television show, and that's where they stopped.
And you brought students?
And we were within 10 feet from the U of M stadium, the big house.
Tom, when was the last time we put somebody out of the church? I don't think these are the right reasons. No. There's a little button in your car that says just interior air only. For those 3 exits, you can press that. All right, thanks, Adam.
Anyway.
Well, yeah. All right, GP Kids.
So the 2 of us together do children's ministry. I do preschool, and Kirsten does elementary, and then we coordinate on all of the things that both of us need to do. So I just want to give you kind of a little outline of what we do on Sunday mornings. So we have the nursery room, which is for ages 0 to 3, and the preschool room for ages 3 to 5 that are open during both services. And then for our elementary kids, during first service, they are all together in one group in the multipurpose room. And then during second service, it's kindergarten to 3rd grade together in the multipurpose room. And then the 4th and 5th graders go into a different classroom for their own lesson. So both services in all those rooms, the kids are learning the same thing, the same lesson, the same memory verse. They're just learning it at age-appropriate levels for them and with their peers. And then each month they are working on a memory verse, so the kids and their families, we give them a magnet that they get to take home, and they practice that verse for the month. So that's been really nice to see them learning to hide God's word in their heart, and that's been a good addition in the past few months. One more thing on Sundays in the evenings, Kirsten and Jake do a 4th and 5th grade Bible study. So those kids are every other week getting used to kind of that format of coming back on Sunday evenings and digging deeper into the Bible. And Kirsten's going to tell you about some of our events for kids ministry.
Yeah, so I'm just going to share a little bit about our events that we have. So we have events every 2 months, give or take. And if you've ever wondered how we decide the events we do have a lot of events for the size of our church, which we love, and we're very blessed to have that ability. But all of our events kind of fit into 2 categories. Our first category is outreach events. So these are like our VBS, Egg Hunt, Parents Night Out. This is the whole goal of these events, is to invite your friends, invite the community, invite your family. Parents generally don't stay at these events, so it's also events to bless the parents to go, what did I say, families? Parents get to leave, the kids stay. And like for Parents Night Out, the parents get to have a date night or go shopping or whatever they want to do. And then our second category of how we choose our events is they're kind of in reach, in church events. So these are events we don't really advertise to the community. This is a time to have fellowship and community. Parents stay at all of these events, so it's just a way for parents to get to know one another, kids to get to know one another. It's so easy on a Sunday morning to just drop off your kid, pick up your kid, and forget to chat and look around at who's around you. So that's kind of how we fit all of our events into our categories, and we try and do it every other, so one outreach, one in-reach, every other, but it doesn't always work out perfect like that. But if you don't have kids, our outreach events are always the events that we need volunteers for. So that is a way that you can be a part of kids ministry if you're not willing or interested in serving in kids monthly back in Sunday school. But that's all we have to say.
Thank you. One of the focuses we have this year is that each of our ministries, if possible, can build a leadership team of other folks in the church around to give advice, to help run programs. And children's ministry has a great leadership team. How many folks are in your leadership team? 8 or 9, did I hear? Yeah. And Adam just started one in each of them. So it's a focus this year that each of our ministry leaders has just a team of people around them that helping giving them advice and helping them run them. Okay, women's ministry. Miss Lori is here.
I'm Lori. I'm Women's Ministry Director, and this has almost been a year now that I've been doing this, so I'm excited about the upcoming ministry year. I have the women's retreat coming up this fall. I'm trying to do an event every quarter. So the past year we did a kickoff in January, and then I did Serve Day in April, and then did our craft night in July, and then we're doing women's retreat in October. Next year, probably do around the same thing, mix up the events a little bit, but still stick to that every quarter. And then just our little events in between. I do have a ministry team now, so I'm excited about that. I have 4 women that have stepped up to be on that, so I'm excited about putting our heads together and coming up with some good stuff and see what God has for us.
And you've got some Bible studies going on?
Yes, sorry. Monday night Bible study, Shirley is going to do that again. That's starting in 2 weeks from tomorrow night. And then it's a Beth Moore study. And then Melissa Rideout's going to do Tuesday morning again. And I believe she's leaning towards a Beth Moore study as well. Just haven't got that finalized yet. But both of those women want to continue doing those. And then we have our Walk and Pray. Susie leads our Walk and Pray that we've been doing this summer. That's been really great. One of my favorite things that we do. It's so simple. Just get out in creation and walk and pray, and it's just been really great.
And our men's ministry.
My name is Reed. I am the men's guy for Grace Point again. It's been exciting. So we're really restarting the men's ministry. Let me change that wording. Ministry to men. The ministry to men is literally any guy walking through that door is a ministry. And so every single man, even though the wives may disagree, we are different. And so we have different learning aptitudes. We have different things that drive us. So we're going to be starting to focus more and more on those things. And within my men's team, my leadership team will build, we'll have an older guy that can relate to the older guys, younger guy for the younger guy. I'm not looking at you, Ron. So So I've had my team built for a while. I think maybe the week after I got here, or was asked to do it, I'll announce him. So it's Matt Ruggles. He just got baptized at Easter. Mr. Ron Cave is one. Kevin Gadd, I don't know if you guys know him or not. He shows up from time to time. Matt Ruggles, George Brown also, he's part of it. And we're going to keep adding to it as we move forward. The vision is basically, the vision for the men is also to carry through the vision of Grace Point in the family. So help the men realize what our vision is, and that changes about every year to 2 years. And so to build that within the men. Secondly is help them become more aware of God's word and how to apply it to their lives. Not to just be able to read it, but actually to practically live it out. And then thirdly, just to hang out and serve our church. And so how we do that, so yesterday we had our men's breakfast. I think we had, I didn't count, 20-ish, 20-something men. It's our second one. It's the first or the last Saturday of every month. And we literally come and just sit and eat breakfast. We did have some deep theological questions yesterday, like if you were a pro wrestler, what would your wrestling name be? And so we got some really good ones on that one. I don't remember. What was my name? Nanner Pudding. We'll just say Nanner Pudding. I don't know. Yeah, I like banana pudding. So I can't remember what it was. Oh, I think the librarian. That's what. Read it and weep. That's what it was. The one that won, though, was actually Jacob Martin at our table, and he was J Mart, and his finish move was the blue light special. And so that was good. And so we're going to do also, we have the Man in the Mirror Bible study. We started last weekend, not just yesterday, but last weekend, but we're going to miss 2 weeks because of the holiday and the breakfast. And I think we had 18 guys show up to that. That was great. Our next thing that we have on our agenda is going to be the, I don't think we have a name for it, so the clay shooting thing. Yeah, we have the clay shooting. We used to call it the Grace Point shooting spree, but no, Terry doesn't like that. Yeah. So we got the clay shooting, and then on 10/8 we have the tailgate. West Virginia plays somebody. I'm not really sure that's what we're tailgating. Yeah. We should have a bunch of people here. So besides that, we're another thing I'm going to do is we still have people that move in our church, and we had a pretty big, I don't know if we call it a ministry, but we had a big moving team that helped people move. And we have one coming up soon, the Sandercocks, which if anybody's ever moved in the church, the Sandercocks have been to almost every move that I've been to. That's probably 15 plus moves. And so we're going to start up the serve teams through the men as well. Yeah, that's what our men do. So we serve our church well. And hopefully through the guys that we have on our leadership team, they can come up with some more good stuff.
How about safe worship?
I'm Mike Hudson, and I'm the team leader now for Safe Worship. And I appreciate the chance to tell you a little bit about what we do. First off, some people know we have a team. Most people aren't really aware of the program. And some of the questions come as, why do you have a Safe Worship team in the first place? What is Safe Worship? And it kind of boils down to the fact that, we recognize we live in a broken world. And all the things that happen out there, we're still part of that broken world. So it doesn't just stop at the doors or out in the parking lot. Every time we walk through the doors, we bring part of that broken world with us. And not only that, as Christ followers, we invite the brokenness in as well. We don't stand there and keep people from coming in. We're not bouncers. We're not security guards, nothing like that. But we do recognize that there's family issues and personal issues and mental issues and all those things that come with this, physical illness and the such. So we put together a team, and we focus on really 4 basic areas. The first being personal safety. So things like, preventing trips and falls, watching the kids a lot, making sure we've got everything safe. You childproof your home. We do the same thing here. You'll see the fire extinguishers and the first aid kits. We do a lot of first aid training and things like that. The second area we look at is what you call physical security. And by that means we're going around the building and trying to make this place an unattractive target for vandalism, robbery, things like that, just trying to protect the facility here. Also for weather events, tornadoes, extreme weather, things like that. So we're doing the things that we need to do, either procedure-wise or making sure the church facility is prepared for something like that. Another area we look at is personal security, which is a little bit different than safety, but that's really focusing on the areas of just doing the things we have to do to prevent, if at all possible, mitigate disruptions, personal violence, things like that can happen all the way from the parking lot all the way into the building. And so we'll have teams that are trained and receive instruction on how to deal with things like de-escalation, stuff like that. And then, of course, the last thing we look at is organizational safety. And the bottom line for that is let's make sure the church isn't subject to a lawsuit, because things like that can really drain the coffers of the church. And you have certain things, accents, whatnot. We have things like what I call an attractive nuisance. That's the playgrounds out there. Things would draw people in from the surrounding area, and the church is responsible for that should someone get hurt, injured, or whatnot. So we look at all of these things to get out there. So that's how the team comes together. Over the next year, we're growing from just a few people to actually trying to expand to at least a dozen folks, get them on the team, and we're training to do medical response, things like that. That's really what we're doing, and we're trying to get away from just being a few procedures and a few people growing in just a program to actually more into a ministry. And so that those of us that are involved can also become more integrated with the church, training the staff, the other volunteers. And so at the end of the day, safe worship, meaning we can come here and not just be safe, but feel safe. Know that this is a place, it's a true refuge, a real sanctuary, if you will. And so that involves training the staff, other volunteers, getting ushers, greeters, things like that involved.
You had an orientation for some new volunteers the other week, and I noticed there was a woman that is thinking about joining the team or did join the team.
We actually have three that will be joining the team.
That's
Yes.
just fantastic. You have a phrase, I don't know if it's a public phrase, but you call it aggressive friendliness.
Yes.
Can you explain that to us?
Well, one of the things that we try to do is there's a phrase, just don't look right. We're looking when people are coming in or looking out in the parking lot or looking around in here for things just don't quite seem out of space. And when you see someone that looks like they might be having a hard time, something just isn't right with them, rather than trying to fence them off or push them out or anything like that, I prefer the aggressive friendliness where we really try to get involved with them, engage with them, find out what's going on. Try to be that minister, if you will, to whatever those needs are.
Yeah.
The goal is, before anything really extreme could possibly happen, let's find a way to head those things off and be a real minister to someone as
I've
opposed
seen you
to...
do it, and you really are extremely friendly. It doesn't come across as,
Right.
what are you doing here?
No, we don't want to do that at
It
all.
really comes across very friendly, and so thank you for that.
Well, we don't want to come across as not welcoming. That's kind of defeats the whole purpose of having
Yeah,
a church, I
it
think.
defeats the purpose. Well, thank you so much. It helped me appreciate Mike. That's good. How about open table?
Hello, I'm Lisa Jackson. I'm the director of Open Table. For those of you that don't know, Open Table meets here at Grace Point the second Tuesday of every month. We start at 6 o'clock in the evening. We go till 8:30. We have clients that come in. We serve them a hot meal. We have a few people that come in every second Tuesday that are homeless, living in their cars. They come in, they have an opportunity to have a hot meal, a cool place, or a warm place in the winter. And we also have groceries so they can shop. We do perishables, eggs, bread, milk, ground beef, so that they can go home and they can feed their family for the week, along with the canned goods. We also, every other month, we have a full clothing ministry. So I know a lot of you, when you clean out your closet, you're looking for a good place to donate those items. We would love to have them. People come in, we actually set up the hall where the kids are with every different size that people could imagine. From kids' clothes all the way up to men's clothes to every size that people are looking for. We also do have some extra items that people are looking for, such as toaster ovens or toasters, that type of thing. So if you have some things that you're cleaning out, we'd love to have those things also. We also do a general hygiene item, so soap, shampoo, that type of thing. People can come in. One thing that I found over the years is that I hear all the time is that food stamps, extra money that they get for things like that never cover those items. So they're not able to get shampoo or soap or toothpaste, and they run out frequently on those items. So those are items that we provide. We have over this year, so far this year, we've served or sent home over 3,000 meals to families in our community. So there are people that come in here. We just had people recently come in that one lady came in and just cried when she was able to come in and pick up groceries, because she said over the last month all she's been eating is beans and rice because she could not afford to buy groceries. So we are able to do that from all of the donations of everybody here and everybody in our church. We have volunteers that come in and work with us every month. We would love to have any of you that are interested come join us the second Tuesday at 6 o'clock. If anybody has any questions, let me know.
I've got a question.
Okay. Terry is our chef. Terry was on vacation or
And
on
Lisa-
sabbatical for 2
Lisa.
months, and I cooked.
Right.
And people couldn't wait to get back to the gourmet meals that Terry treats them to every Tuesday.
People donate not only their clothing and food, but they give financial contributions to this ministry. Tom will explain this a little bit later, but Open Table is a fund, not a general budget item. And it can be used just for helping people in our community. And so talk about that side of things, where people are in need of rent or
Okay.
a bill or anything, and you have a team of people that review things.
Right. So several years ago, I noticed that there was a trend where somebody would come in and they had a flat tire, and they could not fix that flat tire. And so then they could not get to work, and then they would lose their job, and then they would become homeless. And so we started to see this trend where, just the smallest thing, people were falling into homelessness and just not being able to make their ends meet. So we started, we have donations through the church, and we started a ministry where people from our community will send in applications to our church requesting funds to help them with anything from a flat tire to helping with rent, or a deposit to get into a home for somebody that is homeless, or a utility bill where they may have their gas or their electric. And we're starting to see an uptick in that right now. I know all of you have seen, your utility bills go up quite a bit in the last few months. They're seeing the same thing, and a lot of our clients are already on a fixed income. So it makes it very difficult for them to afford these things. So from the generosity of our church, we're able to take care of those things.
Thank you so much.
Okay.
Help me thank Lisa for running
Thank
this
you.
program. So we have two different kind of benevolences in our church. For those people in our church family that are in need, they come to us as the pastors, and we talk about how we can help those inside our church. Christ said to help out those in the church first, and then those in the community, and then we've got this other people gifted in mercy and so many wonderful gifts that are helping the people in the community, and it's such a beautiful thing. Tom, do you have, or Lisa, an idea of the last few years, how much we've given to those in the community in need? About $15,000 and $20,000 a year we help people in need around the community. How about worship? Want to come on up here, Jake?
All right, yeah, thank you, Terry. As Terry mentioned a few minutes ago, one of the new things that a few new ministries have started up recently. Sorry if I'm talking loud. I'm used to holding it super close. One of the new things that several ministries have been starting up is a leadership team for their ministry, and we had last Sunday, not today, our first worship ministry leadership team meeting. So it went really well. I think there was 6 of us there, and 2 more of my volunteers that couldn't make it, but they still want to be a part of the team. So I felt like it went super well, so I was very encouraged by that. Just a couple other new things that are happening in worship ministry are with this big Attend One, Serve One, Invite One push that we did these past month or so, preparing for the 2 services. I have gotten several new volunteers, which was really encouraging this whole summer. a lot of people are gone on vacation and different things like that, and so our worship team has been definitely smaller on certain weekends and things like that. But these past couple weeks, we've had a good, solid, full team, it seems like, and I think going forward, it looks like that's going to be the case for the foreseeable future. So I've gotten a few new sound booth people and a few new worship team members. So it's very encouraging. I think we're actually good in the back, so which is, I don't know if it hasn't happened since I've been here this past year and a few months. So I'm very encouraged by that, that we have enough people in the back each week. And then we always need more musicians, but yeah, for the most part, we're doing really well in that regard. And then the one other thing I wanted to mention was most of you are probably aware that the first Wednesday night of every month we do a prayer night. We eat dinner together around 5:30 p.m. Hang out till about 6:15, and then we come in here or in a different room in the church and pray for about 45 minutes till 7 o'clock. And just we are going to start doing. We already started. July was our first one, but every first Wednesday of the month, we are doing like a worship night instead of the prayer night. It's kind of like a worship and prayer night combined. So our first one was in July. I feel like it went really well. Just a great time to just worship the Lord and just sing. It was just me on guitar and singing, and then I had one other of my worship team members singing with me. We were kind of leading it, and then of course everybody else just joined in and singing with us. We all kind of just sat in a circle, but it was very encouraging time just to praise the Lord. So we're doing that, like I said, every first Wednesday of the month. So we had worship night in July. The beginning of this month, we had a prayer night. Beginning of September, next week, we're going to have another prayer night, and then October will be our next worship night. So I encourage you guys to come to that. But
Thank you, Jake. Great job. Tom, why don't you come on up and share with us about life groups and pathways?
Hi, I'm Tom. Just a few things. First of all, my area in the church is called Spiritual Formation, and let me just tell you why it's called that. We really do believe that literally every moment of every day, our spirits are being formed in one way or another, either more in the likeness of Christ or less. And so what I spend my time thinking about, dreaming about, and praying about is in the adult land, not little kids and not teenagers, but for adults, how can we help people be formed more in the likeness of Christ, in the image of Christ, to step into their faith, step up, to set a good foundation of faith, or step out and pass their faith along. So that's what I do. Part of what I do. Out on the table, or out in the hallway on a table every Sunday is a Pathways table. If you want some resources, there's great resources there. We switch them out pretty regularly, so there's new stuff all the time. And there's also a sign there that will tell you things that are coming up, ways for you to step in, step up, or step out. So check that out. It's also on the email that goes out. And I just have 5 things to tell them. It will just take a second, really. I got like 10 minutes, right? Sorry. And all these are going to be in your app when the time comes. If you don't have the app, you should have the app. But they'll all be in there. But let me just tell you 5 things real quick. September 18th, we're having a first class that's starting, first service called Understanding the Bible. If you or someone you know, let me put that out there too, it doesn't have to be you, but if someone you know, you just think that the Bible's just confusing, I don't know how to read it, I don't know what to do with it, I don't know how it all fits together, this is a class for those kind of folks. So sign up, bring someone with you. On October 2nd, if you haven't found a life group yet, after church, we're going to have a way for you to kind of just hear about what a life group really is and maybe meet a couple leaders and maybe try a couple out. It's October 2nd. October 9th, we're doing this is something brand new that might be a very bad idea, but we're going to try it. We're going to have what's called a good faith conversation. And what you all noticed in the last couple years is when hard topics come up, and there's lots of them, we don't do a very good job of talking about them in healthy ways. So we're going to try to pick a few hard topics and get together in one room all at the same time and listen to 2 sides of how to think about this topic and then have a good faith conversation about it. It's going to be fantastic. It's really going to be fantastic. That's October 9th. October 16th, we're going to have another class starting called Run in Such a Way. And there's a lot of new folks at church that haven't been through that. And it's just basically an introduction to this cross of kingdom living that you probably hear us talk about. That's going to start October 16th. And then 11/5 is our Kingdom Living workshop we have every year. And somehow we're going to get all of you and many more to come to this. It's going to be on finances, the best topic ever. Yeah. Yes. It's really, really important.
So
You
says
guys-
the CPA.
You guys all know that money is one of the top things that spouses fight about, that families have issues with. And so we're going to just spend some time talking about how you handle God's money well. Anyway, that's all I got.
Thank you, Tom, so much. Let's give Tom a round of applause. There's two ministry worlds that I'm a part of. One, I've been passionate since we started at the beginning of the church, and that's missions. You heard me talk this morning about missions, and what a great testimony we had there. After church, we had our missions ministry, our board. I told you that it's two pastors, Adam Moyer and I, and then 4 folks in the church who are mission-minded, and we sat down and we worked through the budgets, which missionaries are we keeping on, and what new missionaries we're going to do, what ministry projects we're going to do, and I blocked out 2 hours for that, and that wasn't nearly enough time this afternoon because people just love to talk about missions. So we're very excited about that. It's a great team of people. And the other world I'm a part of is hospitality. When we ask people who come to pastor chats, get to know the pastor events, we ask them, what is something that made you want to come back after your first visit? And by far the statement they say the most is, this is a really friendly place. And it just blesses my heart to hear people say that. It starts with our hospitality team who greet you at the front door, who are back here as ushers, who help you find a seat, answer your questions, a welcome team that explains things, people that make coffee and greet one another. And so we just love this ministry. When we went to 2 services, we had to double the size. Thanks so much for folks who stepped up for that. I will tell you one need in that right now is that since before COVID, we don't have a leader of the hospitality team. So we're looking for somebody with organizational gifts, somebody with leadership gifts who will dream about how to make that ministry even better, how to organize all these volunteers, make sure that they know what weeks they're serving, any training, things like that. So if God's leading your heart to serve in that kind of way, or you know somebody and you want to volunteer them, now you probably should talk to them first. We would love to do that. So, have I missed anybody, any ministry? Did we miss any? Not hearing anybody I missed, let's open it up for questions and answers. You heard about lots of ministries. What questions do you have from children's, youth, men's, women's, anything, life groups? Any questions at all? Yes, Kelly Lewis. So what I heard, in case anybody didn't hear the question or the answer, is there some resources that we could have in our car that when we see somebody at the corner, we could give them and say, I don't have anything for you right now, but here's a place you can go get help. And that's a great suggestion. Or you give them something and tell them, here's how you can get, good thing.
To go back on that for a second, and we do have it, I'm sorry, we do have it at Open Table, and it is actually a full sheet that shows where somebody can get a hot meal in the city of Delaware every day of the week. So I can make those available and set them out here if anybody wants to take some.
Those are a lot of great questions. I will respond to say that Adam shared and then he left to go run the ministry. But I would also say that you'd be a great candidate for his leadership team because you're already offered. Okay, good. There's a lot of great thoughts there about it. I wished I knew how to answer some of them. Olentangy, Hayes, all 4 Olentangy schools, Hayes, Buckeye Valley. We had a family today come that had 2 high schoolers from Buckeye Valley. So we have a good representative, mostly Olentangy kids, and right now a lot of folks from Berlin. Some years it's more Olentangy High School or others. And he really tries to let them not be all about their school spirit, but that we're one body of Christ in there. He and I strategized together about what are you doing that's going to help reach those outside of our church? What are you doing that's going to help folks that are in the church but the kids are not in the program, don't come to anything? What kind of programs are you doing to reach out to them, inviting them? And of course, those that are regularly in the program, and then those who could be on a leadership team. So he's got students that are on his leadership team and some parents on the leadership team to help plan the events for the rest of them. So he has his strategies, he's building strategies for each of these circles. And, but as for the details of what each of those are, thank you for bringing up, and I wished he was in the room. But we'll make sure the two of you connect on those. Those are good questions. All right, I'd like to, can you bring up the slide for our network? We were part of, for as long as we started the church, we were a part of a national organization called Great Commission Churches. And after 50 years of that organization, which had 8 regions from around the country, it also had Great Commission Europe, Great Commission Latin America, Great Commission Asia. The one in America with the 8 regions, it kind of dissolved a couple of years ago. There was only one guy leading a national office, and he retired. There's no bad blood. There's no big drama. It's just that each of the regions sort of looked a little different than the next region, and they just sort of were close, but they weren't close with any of the other regions. And so it was decided that we would let the national organization dissolve and that we would reorganize as whatever regions we are, like it's the Northwest or it's the Southeast, and we're just the Ohio region. And we invited the 8 churches of the Ohio region. We have churches in Cleveland, in Cuyahoga Falls, 5, I guess 7 of them, 5 of them here in town. And the 2 that were up north said that they think that they will bow out. They were given the option to be in. They said, we'll bow out. We'll be a part of more of a group of churches up near the Cleveland area. And so we have these 5 churches that all came from the same church. Grace Point was the 15th or the 18th daughter church of this church in Worthington. And all these churches came from that same church. So you see Grace Point up at the top there. We've got Linworth Road Church in Worthington. We've got Darby Creek in Hilliard. We've got Awaken in the Short North. And we've got New Song out in Reynoldsburg. And all of the lead pastors in these churches, we were all in the same church at one time. We're all old. And so we've become friends. But we realized that the relationship of these 5 churches isn't going to last past 5 years from now as people retire and leave. It's just for this next generation. So we've been spending the last year, and definitely a focus of my sabbatical was getting the elder boards of the leadership teams of these 5 churches together and talk about what we want to be doing. And so we've decided, there's a really creative name, Ohio Regional Churches. It's a really pathetic name, but maybe we'll come up with a new one. But our mission is we're going to develop healthy churches and pastors through a network of healthy relationships and strategic partnerships. And so we're going to be involved in a couple of things, these 3 goals. One is strategic coaching. This is going to be something new for us at Grace Point. We have a board of elders that currently 3 are staff pastors and 4 are non-staff elders. And they're the ones that kind of the final decisions of the church, who give a lot of counsel and do all of that. And in the past, we had this national organization that sometimes gave counsel, sometimes gave input. Well, this is going to change. What this strategic coaching is starting next year, we're going to invite about 3 different advisors. These are seasoned pastors from our churches around the country, in these other churches. At least 2 of them will be from these other churches. And we're going to invite them to come advise us. And in particular, once a year, they'll come in for a long weekend, and they'll interview the elder team, they'll interview the staff team, they'll interview ministry leaders, they'll interview any number of people in the church they want to do, and then they'll be giving us a kind of a church health report saying, these are areas you're strong in, these are areas that we really think you could shore up. This is accountability. It's not necessarily authority. They're not going to come in and say, we're going to let you go and let you go and let you go. But they are going to be accountable. There's accountability for us to get this outside look at them. And you'll get to know, the whole church will get to know them. We're going to invite them to come and preach from time to time. And throughout the year, it's not the only time we'll hear from them. Throughout the year, there'll be counsel, definitely for me, but any leaders in the church say, listen, I got this issue. Can I talk to you about it? And we'll be available. And some of us will serve as advisors to these other churches. And so this is that's the strategic coaching piece of it. The leadership development is we're going to be doing retreats together. These 5 churches will get leadership teams together. Elder retreats, we've got one coming up in the end of September where the elders in each of these churches will get together and we'll talk about challenging topics. And then the network events, conferences, and missions. There are some of these churches that are smaller, some that are larger, but we'll do like a men's retreat in the past has always been one where we do it as a network with these other churches. We invite especially the smaller churches to come be a part of our men's retreats. We'll have certain conferences. I might have said this morning that I'm leading the Italy mission trip this year. Barry Jameson usually leads it every year. He took a year off. I'm leading it this year. And we have 4 different churches that are sending members on this Italian mission trip. And so this is different things that we can do together, network events, missions trips, conferences, and things like that. Let me stop there and just field any questions about this reorganization of our network. It's a great question. The question was, will these advisors for strategic coaching just come from these churches or can you get them from other places? What we have decided right now, these 5 churches together, is that at least one of the advisors should come from one of these churches to give a perspective of history and tradition, and the other 2 we can get from anywhere we want. We can go, if I'm, one of the things that I love about Grace Point is that I've become friends with just about every pastor in Lewis Center. Today at 4 o'clock, I went to the retirement party for Father Ron Bard, who's the rector at the St. Andrew's Anglican Church. And I don't think I'd ask him to be an advisor, but if I get into a situation where I'm not quite sure what to do, Dean Folks at Life Point will always take my phone call. Ron Bard will always take my phone call. These pastors, we've got one another's backs, and we got people. So I don't know who exactly we as an elder board would ask. We certainly don't want just a bunch of yes people who are just going to think the same way we do on everything. We want to get a variety of input. And so this will be a process over the next year that we'll be talking about which advisors that we'll pick. But one of them, for the sake of the traditions we've had and context, will be in one of these other churches. I'm looking at Jay Martin, one of our elders. That's about right, isn't it? Yeah. That's a great question. Well, we certainly would love to add to that group, especially if they're daughter churches. We do church plans out of one church to the next. They're already part of the family. But when we did our documents for this new network, we did put into it what would it look like if another church that was all by itself, it wasn't a part of a network, wanted to join us. What would it look like? And we have a process where one of us, especially the leads in the 5 churches, would go and have a conversation with them, find out what the story is, and either say it probably wouldn't be a good fit or recommend to the rest of the leads, pastors in this, that why don't we bring them in and talk to them? And so definitely we can. We know that there's churches, I know in Lewis Center, there's churches who are not in a relationship with any other church on the outside. And I think it is so healthy. I think it's in a world where distrust is there. You come into a church and you ask the question, what outside people are looking under the hood, I think it's safe for everybody. So yes, there's a way for folks to come in and be a part of it. We're just beginning, so we don't know what that first one will look like, but we'll try it. Great question. Are we going to share I think like some of the things, like the men's ministry thing, we already do together. Mission trips, we already do together. VBS, I don't know, maybe in the future we would do that. It's not been on the discussion board, but it could be. But I think you were asking about finances, and I forgot to mention that before. What the 5 churches have agreed upon is that we would like, within the next year, for each of the churches to start giving half of 1% of your budget to this. And that would come to about $10,000 a year that would sit in a fund that how that money gets spent is decided on the 5 lead pastors. That's kind of the board of this organization. And that could be used for church plants. It could be used to help one church if they're in some crisis or need or whatever, things like that. So yeah, we plan on pooling resources, but it's not going to drain us. I mean, it's a half of 1%. When we were in our other organization, we gave 5%, and which was great, but we hardly ever knew where it was going. So when I mentioned that we were the 15th or the 18th daughter of the church in Worthington, they've planted churches on the OSU campus in Westerville. There's a church, big church there called Heritage. Heritage was part of us when we were a national organization, but about a little over 10 years ago, they became such a mega church, like 3,000 people, and we're already planting other churches, like North Church here in Lewis Center that became Ethos Church, Vista Church in Dublin. They became their own network and decided to pull out of ours over a decade ago and become their own network of churches. I see our campus church, H2O, and I see Heritage as cousin churches. We don't conference together, the leads don't meet, but I'm old enough, and you're old enough, that I'll hang out with the pastors over at Heritage because I know Pavi Thomas. I don't know the other senior pastor there. I know Mike and Tammy Smith at Vistas, so we'll connect, but it's much more informal. Does that answer? The answer is we're not in a formal relationship. Their church isn't up there. They didn't want to be a part of this. We did offer it to them, by the way, because their senior pastor left, their founding pastor left about 3 years ago, and he had connections with like Vineyard and other mega churches in town. And so the pastors and the elders that were left that I knew, I said, do you all want to come back into a family of churches? And they said, thanks for the offer, but no. This group, as a matter of fact, yes, in our organizing documents, we said that we should do quarterly reports to all of the other elders, but we could be public to everybody about any decisions we're making, about coordinating events, anything that we're spending money on, that we'd be doing these quarterly reports so that everybody in any of the other churches, but it should be public to everybody. I don't know how we display it. Tom, why don't you make your way on up? Just for sake of time, let's move to our financial piece of the meeting.
So if you don't have this yet, you're going to get it. It has a pie chart on it because who doesn't love a good pie chart? We were going to put it on the screen, but it was teeny tiny print, and so we just decided to give you hard copies. And if there's not enough, I'm sure you can share. And it's not all of our financial information, obviously, but it's a good bit of it. Thanks, Reed. Thanks, Jeff. And you all can read, so I'm not going to read it all to you, but just let me orient you to it. So the pie chart, for example, let me get my glasses on. Hold on a second. Terry, do you want one? Oh, you got one. So let's just upper left-hand corner, children. So our children's ministry is 7.7% of all the amount we're spending this year, budgeted to spend this year, just by way of example. And there's a slice for every little bit of what we're doing. And so our ministry year runs September 1 through August 31st, so we're just about done with the ministry year. And so that's just a breakdown of what the elders approved just a few weeks ago, how to spend the money that we think is going to come in. Now, let me go lower left-hand corner of the page. If you're familiar with financials, some of you are, some of you aren't, so I'm not going to do a financial statement education, but just let me give you the highlights. Our budgeted tithing is going to be $776,000. That's pretty much the same as we budgeted for this year. And by the way, I think we're going to be pretty close. I think we're going to be pretty close to getting our budget or our actual tithing up to what we planned for it to be, which would be really, really great. His name's Jesus, and he does things through his people, by the way. So anyway, so that's going to be good. And we just felt like, reasonably speaking, yes, we're going to have more people coming, but new people generally don't give right away or to the extent that existing people do. So we just left tithing alone. We took out of that all the administration and mortgage. You can see the mortgage is a big number. We took all that out, all the cost to turn the lights on and repair the roof and buy a new computer, all that kind of stuff. And that left a certain amount for ministries. And then every ministry area is represented there as well. So just pick on the first one, pastoral care. Pastoral care, if you ever get taken out to lunch by one of us, that's pastoral care. So that's what that is. The next one down is hospitality. So the coffee service and buying cups and lids and coffee, all that kind of stuff comes out of there. So that's how all that breaks down. Now, people's salaries are all in these different ministries. So that's why we're not spending $48,000 on spiritual formation. But if you add part of me in with what we're spending on other things, it adds up to $48,000. And you'll notice, unless you don't notice things very well, that our total budgeted spending is more than our total budgeted tithing. You guys see that? To be precise, $24,000, $24,570 more. And you might ask yourself or me, why is that, Tom? For two reasons. As we've said this whole summer, we are currently staffed for and planning for a church that isn't yet here. We're staffed for a church that's bigger than we are. And we really, really like our staff right now. It's a great team, and we want to keep that staff in place while we grow into that. So that's a big reason why we have a negative budget approved by our elders. But the reason we can do that is over on the right-hand side of your paper, which would be this way for you. You'll see we have a thing called a cash reserve. You all have well, maybe you don't all, but we all have cash reserves one way or another. Those are rainy day funds. Those are money set aside in case things don't go the way you planned for them to go. And years ago, back when life was different, we built up a pretty good cash reserve, and we kept trying to figure out what are we supposed to do with it? Like, this is God's money sitting in this account. What are we supposed to do with it? And we kept getting prompted to do nothing with it. Just let it sit, let it sit, let it sit. Well, it's funny how things happen. COVID happened, and lots of other things have happened. So, but we have a cash reserve so that when tithing doesn't meet our budget, we don't have to shut the lights off or anything like that. So we have a cash reserve. As of the end of July, it had a $150,000 balance. We have by policy, we don't let it get below $75,000 because that's a true emergency. Like if something really tragic happens, we need money to make something happen, we've got it in the bank. So that allows us to authorize a negative budget, a budget with a negative bottom line. We don't intend to do that forever. Obviously, that wouldn't be very smart. But for this year, for right now, that's what we felt like we needed to do to get on to the next spot. And then if you go up one little notch where it says mortgage, I thought people might want to know, like, what do we owe on this building? As of the end of July, we owe just over $550,000. I think the original mortgage on this building was 1.2, but I don't remember those things. He's nodding. It's about a $12,000 a month mortgage payment. Imagine doing that every month. Yes. And the payoff date, this is just kind of exciting for me because I'm a numbers guy. The payoff date is December of 26. What is this? This is 22, right? So 4 years. I would suspect, we haven't talked about this or anything, but I wouldn't be surprised if early in 26 we just do a little campaign that says, let's just pay this thing off and be done with it. But for right now, we're paying about $12,000 a month. You can see over to the left of that how much of that's principal and how much of it is interest. At this point, almost all of it's principal. We're paying a lot of principal every month on this thing, which is great. The bad news about a building that is 17 years old is that things start to break. We put a new roof on during COVID. We painted the entire exterior of the building during COVID. We painted the whole inside of the building during COVID. We just spent $2,000 fixing some of the fire suppression stuff that's getting old. So things start to pop, just like in your houses. Same thing happens here. And we've got a building fund that we put money into every month so that when those things happen, we don't have to come to you and say, hey, we need a new air conditioner. Can you all chip in for that? We try to plan ahead for that. So that's the very brief financial update, kind of budget plan of where we are for the year, and I'd be happy to try to answer any questions you might have about it. Unless I don't want to. No, I'm just kidding. Any questions? Anything at all? By the way, this is in every weekly newsletter. Well, not this one, this is new, but an overview like this is in the link in your weekly email. Yes, Lisa. Lisa asked if there are any more staff changes expected in the near future, and I believe the answer, I'm looking at the staff, I think the answer is no, we sure hope not. We really like the staff team, the staff mix that's here right now. It's just a beautiful team, so we sure hope not. But one never knows. Someone here, was it you? Yes, it is. The one-time gift is in the, now again, you're looking at the budget, so this is actually next year's budget. Yes. Yeah, so here's something that's new. So let me just repeat the question. We got and this happens every year to some extent, but this year, about a month or so ago, we got a large one-time gift this summer, which was fantastic. It filled in the hole that we had dug the first few months of the year. And it's hard to budget with those kind of things because I feel like, well, that's not like real. That's like this weird thing that dropped out of the sky. But what's been different in the last few years, especially with the tax changes that happened recently and just how people's lives have changed, there are probably, I'm going to guess, 10 or 12 families who they don't give every week or every month. They give like once a year, once a quarter, a couple times a year. Almost every year there's a one-time gift from someone who got stock options just got cashed in, or they got this giant bonus at work or whatever. So it's not unusual these days to have, there's the normal giving, which you got to have, but there's these big chunks that come in, which is a great blessing when it happens. It makes budgeting a little weird because it's just strange, but it is what it is. So hopefully that answered your question. Yes, ma'am. Yeah, so we have, the question is benevolence. Where does that on here? And it's not on here. So that's outside of our normal budget. We have 4 funds, I want to say, that you can give to at Grace Point just regularly. The general fund, which is this. The benevolence fund, which, as Terry said, that's money to help Grace Point families. An open table fund, which is what Lisa talked about. And a building fund, which is the most exciting one. If you want to help us keep the building maintained when big things happen to the building. There's also a short-term missions fund for missions teams and those sort of things. But those 4 are the main funds that are open. And so benevolence is its own little pool of money. It doesn't come out of the regular budget. And it's amazing. I think this is true. Every single time we spend money out of that fund, even if it's a lot of money out of that fund, it fills right back up again. I mean, it's just remarkable. Yeah, so for years and years and years, our Christmas Eve offering has gone into that fund. That's its main funding spot. We do have people that give to it every month, but that's the main way that money gets put into it. Other questions? Yes, sir? It comes up from time to time. Thought about it? Yes. Talked about it? Yes. Planned for anything? Not really. The pandemic, you may have heard of it. It was a big deal. It's what we talked about and planned about for way, way too long. So, and trying to get back to a healthy spot financially again. But yes, the hammers are happening all around us again. Houses going up. People are coming. So it is a good question, and it'll be back on the list, I'm sure, again. Yes, Julianne. We're gonna plan on losing I think about $18,000 this budget year. So it'd be about $20,000 more than that balance. Other admin is just probably the same thing as your house. It's the internet, it's the electricity, it's just all that stuff. It's their security system, all that. Yeah, taking care of them. By the way, if you didn't know, among other things, Lori Midkiff is our bookkeeper. So one of the great things about COVID, there weren't very many, but one of them was the cloud became real. So she can do all the bookkeeping for the church at home, and all of our stuff scanned electronically. It's just a beautiful thing. So she does a great job. Yes, sir. If inflation stays bad for a while, is it going to mess with our budget? Well, it already has messed with the bottom part, the expense part for sure. The utilities this last year have, for the first time in a very long time, actually been higher. Not been higher in a long time. It makes the salary part hard when all the costs are going up and our salaries are not. That's difficult. And all of you are paying more for gas and whatever it is you buy, so everything's getting more expensive. Time will tell. I asked the same question when the tax laws changed a few years ago so that I don't really itemize deductions anymore because it just doesn't make sense. Would people's giving change? I don't think it changed too much. And so we do live, I don't know what statistically if this is the case, but certainly one of the wealthiest counties in Ohio, if not the country. And so in general, people in Lewis Center make a lot of money. And so far, I think they've been insulated from some of the inflationary issues, certainly gas and groceries. Most people have enough to pay for that. But we'll see over time. I don't know. Thankfully, here's one little thing that's good. Our interest rate on this building is fixed, so that's not going to change. The bank might like it to change it, but then it's not going to change. We'll see. Yeah. We had some raises last year. There's no raises built into this one, and we had that discussion as an elder board, like what do you do with that? And it's just right now we just can't. There's not room to do it. So we'll see what next year looks like. Yeah. It's 7:54, Terry. Look, 7:54. I'm not going to go over there and show it to you because I'm not allowed to. But any other questions? Seriously, any other questions? And you can ask offline too. It's sometimes hard to formulate a money question on the spot, so feel free to ask me anytime. Unless I'm doing the message, please don't ask me if I'm doing the sermon because it's just, I can't fit it in my head.
5 minutes. Any questions about anything? We are open book. Nope. Well, then I'll close this in prayer and we'll head out. Thank you, Father, so much for those who came today, who are watching online. And we are fully aware that you're the lead pastor of this church. You're the head shepherd of this church. We're under shepherds. We're trying to listen as best we can. And would you continue to guide us as a church family? Would you continue to unite us and protect us from the enemy who would, his number one thing is somebody who wants to divide the family and is accuser of the brethren. Would you protect us from that evil one and take us into this next year with joy in our hearts. In Christ's name we pray, and all God's people said, amen. Thanks for coming, everybody.